When is the best time of the year to buy a new TV? And from where? And for how much? I'll answer these questions and more on this episode of What's the Deal? I'm your host, Chris Rux, and this is What's the Deal, a show where we answer all of your consumer questions with product reviews, how-tos, expert interviews, and of course, good old-fashioned journalistic gumption. Is that a thing people say still? Was it ever? Today we talked televisions virtually with tech expert David Dritsas. He shared his tips on how to buy TVs, where to buy them, and for how much. Oh, full circle. He's answering the questions he told us he'd answer. Let's get to it. All right, so tell me a little bit about what it means to be a tech editor at Brad's Deals. What do you do all day?
Yeah, so basically what we do is we try to find the best deals on all the best tech, but we also keep ourselves like pretty up and educated on like what the new technologies are, what the differences are, because I really feel like now more than ever, it can be a very confusing space to shop in. You kind of got to be armed with a little bit more information than you used to have to be. It's not just about the size of the TV anymore. There's so much more to it.
And there's a lot of things that are like one letter off in their acronym that really changes what that exactly means.
So I think what you might be thinking of is like QLED versus ULED or OLED. It's pretty confusing, but they all are very different technologies.
What's the best time to buy a TV? Best time of the year to buy a TV?
There are two times that it's the best time to buy. One is Black Friday, always. Right. There's usually good deals on TVs then. But the other good time is usually around the February and March timeframe. And this is because in January at the Consumer Electronics Show, all the TV manufacturers introduced their new 2022 models. And so what goes on sale around the February and March timeframe are the 2021 models because they're launching their new ones. So you'll see discounts on last year's models at a lot of different retailers. And when I say last year's model, that should not be meant to be like, oh, it's older, worse technology. It's not. It's often the improvements each year are, somewhat incremental. So buying a TV from last year is not a bad purchase to make. So that's a great time to save money.
Sometimes it's just the difference in the shape of the remote. That's about all that they change, but that way they can market it as a whole new television.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll say, "Oh, it's got a brand new processor," and that's great. But sometimes those processor increases are incremental too.
What's the best place to buy a TV? Where do you like to recommend people go to look for deals on TVs and best place to purchase one?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, this answer may not be as exciting as it could be. There isn't any one magic place to go that like the discounts are the best. Honestly, the best discounts happen at the usual suspects. Places like Best Buy and Walmart and Amazon are all great places to get deals. But also look at your local retailers, the ones that are more regional. Places like B&H Photo or PC Richard or a place that we write out about a lot, BuyDig. They all have a national online presence, even though they're regional in the sense of their own locations, their brick and mortar locations. But they also have the same exact deals as all of the other big box retailers, but they might offer something extra like a gift card or an extra warranty that's extends your warranty. They might even have better free shipping options. So those are definitely places to check out too.
I know Target hasn't always been known as an electronics stop, but it seems like they've improved their game. What changes have they made?
They have. They're getting better. The things about like the Targets and the Walmarts is they tend to sell a lot of great TVs, but they tend to be in like the mid-tier range. So you won't get like some of the higher end stuff. But I've noticed over the past couple of years, Target has gotten up their game a little bit in the quality of brands that they carry. And the nice thing is that if you do have a Target Red card, you can get 5% off the price. So if you get something that's a sale price that matches everywhere else, you can get an extra 5% off at Target, so long as that's the model that you want and that they carry it. That's a great way to get a discount. A lot of places that offer a coupon-based discount, like let's say Kohl's, they don't allow their coupons or their extra discounts to apply to electronics. Target lets you take 5% off anything.
One of the things about the Red card that I like, because I use one all the time, is there's a debit card option too. So it's not necessarily opening up another credit account. It just pulls from my checking account. I get that 5% back. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's probably one of the better store card offers I've ever seen.
You mentioned maybe not Walmart all the time or not Amazon all the time. Why shouldn't those be the default to go to?
You know, the for Amazon, the assumption is, oh, you can always get it cheaper on Amazon, and that's not true at all. A lot of times you can get the same exact deal on Amazon, and so let's say you buy something in Amazon, it's the same price at Best Buy. You might want to get it from Best Buy because the return policy might be easier to deal with. You can go into the store in case something goes wrong. With Amazon, that might be a little bit trickier, especially because it's such a huge purchase. You know, even if they offer free returns, it's a giant pain to have to mail or ship a box back rather than maybe drive it back to the store. Walmart tends to be like still mid and lower tier. And what I always tell people is be careful of the low prices at Walmart. You might be seeing a model that is, you know, might look like it has the same specs, but it might not be the same build quality. They might carry a brand that you don't see anywhere else. That's because it's only sold at Walmart because it is a cheaper brand. That said, they do carry some very good brands. They carry Samsung. You still might score a really good deal at Walmart. So don't count it out. Just don't assume that they always have the best price on the best quality item.
Yeah, if it's the same model number and then the price is cheaper, of course, Walmart. But if it's not the same model number, there might be a reason why it's not the same model number.
That's right. The best way to look at it with TVs is TVs are like cars. You know, it might, the basic specs might all be the same. Every car has four wheels. They run on a gas engine. They do this. But when you get under the hood, that's where the differences really start to happen. So if you're looking at like a brand like a certain model of Vizio, I don't want to pick on Vizio. They have some great options and they have some really good ones, but they have a very wide range. So a really cheap Vizio TV won't look as good as, let's say, a really good LG TV that has very similar looking basic specs.
What should people look for in a new TV? What specs should they be on the lookout for, you know, this year?
This year, you know, honestly, if you're not buying 4K and higher, I really wouldn't recommend anything lower. There are still 1080p TVs on the market. There are still 720p TVs on the market. But I got to be honest with you, to get something, you can get a 4K under $500, and I don't see the point in buying a $350 1080p TV when you could get maybe a budget level 4K TV for $400. Do you know what I'm saying? There's enough, everyone's making things in 4K now. All the broadcast stations, all of the streaming services, all their shows are filmed in 4K now. So now is the time, if you've not upgraded to 4K yet, get a 4K. Don't bother with 1080p, and please don't buy a 720p. If you really want to like get into like a little bit of higher end technology, check out QLED. That's Samsung's sort of version of what an OLED is. An OLED, by the way, Chris, is organic light emitting display. It's probably the most, not the most advanced, but the most advanced consumer technology that's widespread at the moment. I have one. I love it. You will not get contrast levels out of a regular LED TV the way you do an OLED. QLED is not quite as good. It's basically just an enhanced version of traditional LED technology, but it still is very good. I have a friend who has one. I think the quality is great. It's not as, I don't like it as much as my OLED, but it is, there are more economical, and you do get a lot of the same benefits in terms of contrast and better colors. 4K, QLED, then OLED. Those are the three, and those are the levels. You're always going to pay more for OLED, but it is a beautiful, beautiful display.
What about 8K? Is it too early for 8K?
Too early. That's still very early adopter technology. You might have seen also things called micro LED. I also think that's a little bit early adopter. I would let those be on the market. I always say, let the rich people buy that stuff for a while. You don't need it yet. And because honestly, they're still refining those technologies. I liken it to when flat panels first came out back in the late 90s. Philips had them. If you ever saw one, they were cool, but the quality was not that great. I'm not saying that 8Ks aren't good quality. They are. But I'm sure there's some still kinks to work out. And to be honest with you, nobody's shooting anything in 8K right now except for specialty content. So there's really no good reason to have it.
It's a quickly depreciating asset too. And if that technology becomes that much more attainable for everybody else, it wasn't as cool as you thought.
Yeah, and things will level out. I mean, I'm sure in a few years you will see OLEDs for lesser price. But for right now, they've been hovering between 1,000 and 1,500 and more for higher end versions of them. But that's where they've been sitting for like the last 2 years.
Yeah, especially like you said, you know, there are some extremely high-end budget movies that are maybe shooting in 8K, but nobody's broadcasting in 8K. You're still hard-pressed to find everything broadcast in 4K. A lot of the streaming services are, but in terms of traditional television, 4K is, you know, still growing, or it's an add-on cost, things like that. So it doesn't really make sense to bump it all the way up to 8 when 4 isn't still the complete norm yet.
Any 8K content right now is specialty content that isn't really movies. It's sort of little mini documentaries, promotional content that they film to show off the display technology. So it's just not something that I think anyone needs right now in the general consumer market.
I remember when HD TVs first came out and I was at a Best Buy, and the content just looked amazing. And then I purchased one at one point and brought it home and hooked it up to my old crappy cable, and it didn't look so nice. And it's because, like you said, that promotional content that they shoot with the best of the best cameras and put it on the screen to make it look its best. And it's, you know, it's set on its vivid settings, so it looks super bright. And then you take it home and it's not the same, because the content that you're getting at home isn't the same as the content they're supplying at the electronics store.
Exactly.
What are some recommended price ranges for buying a TV online?
That's a complex question, Chris, because there's different levels and different technologies. So it's really like different ranges, which is fine. I think for like a basic 4K TV, you know, if you're buying 50 to 55 inch, you're probably looking at like $400 to $600 on a decently priced TV. 65 and 70, the price jumps up a little bit, and you're looking at about $500 to $700. And then 75 inches and up in that range is, you know, $800 to $1,000, I think, for a good deal. And this is what I mean. What I mean by that is like a good deal on a TV would be in that range. You certainly could pay higher for that. And for the QLED technology ranges, we're looking anywhere from $500 to $1,300 depending on the size you choose, and for OLED anywhere from about $1,000 to $2,300 depending on the size that you choose.
What else do you want to share with us about televisions today, David?
Understand that a lot of the TV manufacturers have what's called MAP pricing, so minimum advertised pricing, which means anyone who's selling their TV for them has to sell it at a certain price. They sometimes can make that go on sale in a way that is cheaper than maybe their competitors. Either they will allow you to add it to the cart so they can't list that price, although I've been seeing that happen less and less lately. Or they add something onto it, like a gift card or extended warranty, to kind of sweeten that deal. And that's always a great thing to look for, because it can sometimes be hard to like find a cheaper price at one place. Price match guarantees are always good. If you see it cheaper one place and the store that you prefer does not have it for that price, see if they'll match that price. Be very cautious of where you buy. So if you see something and it's really cheaper on eBay from some small little reseller, be careful. That might be what's, you know, a sort of what they call gray market. So it could be slightly damaged and they're not telling you that. And what happens there is if something goes wrong and you want to take it back to the manufacturer to honor the manufacturer's warranty, which is going to be a year, they have the option to not honor it because you didn't buy it from an authorized seller. So always check and see if the retailer you're buying it from is authorized to sell that brand. At Brad's Deals, like, that's a big rule for us. We only post TV deals that we know are coming from a good source. We take that very seriously. Just because we see something and it looks cheap does not mean we will run it for our readers, because we're just not going to pass some information along to you guys that we wouldn't trust ourselves. I think the other thing I want to share, and this is something that may be a personal thing for me, a lot of our readers will often say, well, what's the refresh rate? And refresh rate is funny. Generally speaking, there's 60 hertz and there is 120 hertz. A lot of times people would say, oh, you shouldn't buy anything below 120 hertz. I'm not so sure that I agree with that, and here's why. If you're playing a lot of games on your TV and you're doing a lot of like sports watching on your TV, then maybe 120 hertz native refresh rate is what you want, native being the operative term. A lot of 120 hertz TVs, I will turn off that 120 hertz frame rate because it makes older TV or movies or television shows have what's called the soap opera effect. And that's where it's like, it seems like the motion is a little weird. It makes really good movies look cheaper. So I would say, like, don't get hung up on the refresh rate.
And that's another one of those specs where they tend to bury it behind their own brand focused language too, clear motion rate or all those other nonsense terms that they made up.
Right, and clear motion rate, so when they say clear motion 120 or motion rate 120, they're actually saying it's a native 60 hertz TV, and then we use some technology to make it look like 120 native, and it's not 120 native. So if 120 refresh rate is really important to you, buy a TV that is going to be 120 hertz native. That's an important term to look for, and that will make the price go up.
Well, awesome. Thanks for your time today, David. I appreciate all your insight.
I want to ask you a question.
Oh, yeah.
What's your next TV you want to buy?
So I'm a big Samsung guy. I've always had Samsung products. Don't tell anybody, but I have a Samsung phone. I'm not an iPhone guy.
That's fine.
Yeah. And I've loved them for years. I actually just pre-ordered the 22. But yeah, I'm probably going to go with a Samsung TV, and I think I'm going to lean towards a QLED, like you said, because that's one of the better ones that Samsung's pushing now, without it being quite as expensive as some of their other. I think they have a QD LED coming out or something to that effect.
I think they do have some. They're getting into what's called micro LED display technology, and that's another, I think, early adopter sort of technology. It's going to be sort of next level. I think a real true competitor to OLED, but QLEDs are great. They also have some higher end levels of QLED TVs that are there. It's going to cost you more money, but honestly, I have seen some of their basic QLEDs up close, and I think they're a great looking TV. So if if you want to be under $1,000 and not be spending crazy amount on a TV, then I think you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, and I have a washer and dryer that are Wi-Fi connected, and they're Samsung. So this way my washer and dryer and my TV can be friends. Is that how that works?
They're not real people, Chris.
Sometimes it makes me feel better to know that they have friends outside of me.
That's nice.
Well, David, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate you hopping on this episode. We'll be speaking with you again, I'm sure. Next time we need a tech expert, you'll be our first call. So thank you, David, for joining me.
Bye.
Special thanks to our friends at Brad's Deals for sponsoring today's episode and for loaning us David with his wealth of knowledge on all things tech. If you liked this episode, like this episode and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, I'm Chris Rux. Thanks for watching. What's the deal?